it might prove a bit too windy, this one, so I'm going to try and go down to the less windy part of the field to record this one. But while I was recording one of the previous ones, it crossed my mind that something that hadn't been done really was like a history of the drugs that came into the country, and really they were as influential as music, and as much a part as a lot of people's lives as music was. So and also there's boundaries to it as well. I mean, it's going to be about cannabis, weed, marijuana, that kind of thing, this one. But I don't smoke it anymore. I can't cope with it. It gives me mental health problems. But I did used to smoke it years ago. What was curious about it was and also I stopped around the time that the weeds got good. Skunk weed came, it was just starting, and now we've got all sorts of varieties and stuff, and different types with different amounts of CBD to THC ratio. The CBD being a bit of a sedative and the THC being more psychedelic. And when I stopped, which was around 2000, the THC level in them was really high. Anyway, I probably started about 1982, and you could get weed. West Indians culture mostly, they sold like what we call African bush, which was a kind of weed that was usually had a lot of sticks and stems and seeds in it, and it was quite low quality, but it was quite nice. And that was it was cheaper than the hashish, and mainly white people sold hashish. Now, back then, hashish would come in, I don't understand why, but there must have been loads of little small smuggling operations rather than one big one, because I'll tell you the history of how it went during my time. Because you'd get like you might get Manali black 1 week, and then within a week later you might be getting red leb, and then the week after that you might be getting some different types of presses of Moroccan hash. Some flat presses, really thin, like even like 2 mil and a half thick, and other ones that were like sort of about 7 mil thick. And we call them 00, but whether they were or not, I don't know. That's a top grade one. But these, so, and also you get like Afghani blacks, Pakistani blacks, dark squidgy resins, less pollinous and stuff. And also you'd get Moroccan pollen, which was just literally pollen, and occasionally oil as well you'd get, which was literally hash oil, very strong. But this is like all early 80s. And that variety was fascinating for a connoisseur like myself at that young age to explore the different varieties and different types you could get. So it was an interesting time. But like I say, I can't smoke it anymore. I just don't have the mental health strength to do it. It messes me up. Well, I'll tell you the history after that point. It went through a phase, following that phase of there being a wide variety, it went to, there was about a year when it was nearly all blonde leb, and it used to have come with a piece of Hessian sack that the dealers would try and sell you a little bit of sack with it, because they paid for the weight in it, covered in this sacking, which is a rip-off really, but that's what it was. And it wasn't great. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't great. Then there was a phase of different types of squidgy Afghani black, and they were either red seal or gold seal usually, meaning that there was like a sort of cellophane film on top of it that was either red or gold. And I think this is a classification of quality, but it didn't really mean much, because you get some good red seals and so you get some gold seals, and that lasted for a while as well. And I'm guessing that the smuggling operations became much bigger, and then Moroccan black came out, soap bar, which was horrible hashish, and it was a terrible period for hash smokers. It wasn't very nice at all, and that seemed to go on for ages. And that was when I was at university. That was what we smoked all the time, all day, every day, and it wasn't very strong, really, not compared to what the weed that people smoke now. Yeah. So and then one time I went with a couple of friends to Morocco, and I remember going into the and as you drive through that area into the beginning of the Rift Mountains, you get young kids coming out holding big lumps, like ounce lumps at you, trying to get you. And if you walked into town, like Chef Shawan, we were camped above Chef Shawan, and if you walked into town, you get given enough samples to smoke to get you through. Like 6 or 8 different people have forced them on you, a sample, and then the following day they'd expect you to buy more. And a lot of them thought you were smuggling. I think a lot of people did smuggle. We never did. And there was a wide variety, and oil as well that they had. We got oil there. But what I was going to say was, we found when I was up in the woods, I was on my own, and there was it was like, if you could imagine a bale of soap bar the size of bigger than the football, like the size of a rugby ball, say. And it had been wrapped in brown parcel tape, plastic parcel tape, and that had been cut away. And the amounts that was left over, there was like chunks that were as big as 16ths or 8ths that had been left abandoned. And as I understand it, it was just shit hash that they used to make specifically for the British market, so they'd sell over here, and it was rubbish. And that was the end of my, and just after that, they managed to, some ingenious horticulturists managed to start making different types of weeds, and there's hundreds of varieties, and that's what people smoke now, on the whole. Yeah, and so I stopped then. So yeah, there's just a little history of what happened. Just a small history of what happened. Hang on, I've got dog walkers coming. My dog is a bit of a feisty one sometimes when he meets up with these other ones, and she won't seem to fuck off. She just seems to be wandering around. But Bentley, wait. Yeah, so it went through that early phase where the quality and variety was huge. You know, there's tons of every week, different types, and it was exciting. It was exciting from a connoisseur's point of view, because you'd be trying out different ones. And we'd say Temple Ball, but I'm sure that was just black hash that had been rolled up. I remember opiated black that was infused with opium. This is all 80s, and but like when it changed over, it must have gone to big organised crime groups that started importing much larger amounts of like say red and black seal from Afghanistan, a load of Blando that never came back again. Weirdly enough though, now these old school hashes are coming back again. I wonder whether ingenious people have cracked methods of creating, well, I know you can create hash from grow farms, you know, from your own weed, but whether they managed to just fine tune it so much that they can reproduce effectively what is a red lab or a You know, it's indistinguishable from a old school red lab or an old school black hashish. Yeah, no, it was just a little. I was gonna. I mean, this is going to be part of a series on the changing face of drugs. Like I say, I don't smoke that anymore. It's just not my cup of tea anymore. But it was for a long time. And yeah, and they varied quite a lot. Like the blacks were quite soporific. I guess they had quite a high CBD content to THC ratio, and then you get Moroccans that would make you laugh. Moroccan hashish that would really cut something out to get the giggles and stuff. Yeah, so that's a brief history of the hash from sort of 82 to around 2000 or just after. Like I say, now there's hundreds of different strains of weed that people have, and all these hashes are making a comeback as well. So it's interesting stuff, but not for me anymore. Okay, I thought I'd give that a brief. I thought it was worth a video. I'll do some on some of the other drugs that came and went. Like ecstasy, how that changed, MDMA, LSD, the research chemicals era. What else happened? Amphetamines was around for a while, but yeah. Anyway, I'll give a brief history of those as well. So that's just a bit of a garbled, messy history of the hash scene as I started, because that was the thing for us, was just we like to smoke hash every day. Well, I'm talking about when I was 15, 16 years old. Now I just can't be doing it at all. Okay, I hope this isn't too windy, and I hope it's recorded well, and I hope it's not too garbled. But it's a brief history of there's a lot of the cultural, some bits of cultural history get lost. Football hooliganism is focused on now, but I've not seen anyone go into the history of how the drugs are. I mean, I don't know nothing from the supply chain or why it would be, why it was the way it was. I suspect it was like small scale smugglers back then, and then much later became larger organised crime groups that were doing it. Hence where you get a year of exactly the same stuff, which is pretty grim. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.